This is the first of a series of videos of tips and tricks that, if followed, can help you achieve success. This video is going to focus on exercise 14. There's a lot of things to think about when focusing on exercise 14 because everything is new. Some of the things to remember: posture, including hand position, tapping your foot, playing notes in time with the foot, correct notes, correct rhythms, tonguing the beginnings of each note, playing the notes for its full duration, holding out rests for the full duration, and trying to minimize squeaks, although knowing that they do happen from time to time. Let's get started. I have with me, for my practice, a metronome. And I just have a regular one that you can buy in any music store. But you can also find metronomes online, and you can get them as apps as well. So, now I have my metronome here, so I can use it whenever I'm ready. So I'm going to look over exercise 14. I see half notes, I see whole notes, I see half rests and whole rests. If you're ever confused between any of those, whether it's between half notes and whole notes, or whole notes, whole rests and half rests, you can always look up at the top. The top of your page has all of the resources whenever anything new is added in those little yellow boxes. So I look up at the top, I go, okay, here I see a whole rest, I see a half rest. They look very similar, but they are very different. So let me find all the half rests that we have in here. We have one in measure 2, we have one in measure 5, and then measure 7 looks a little different. That's a whole rest. And you can tell because it takes up the whole measure of 4/4 time. So now what I'm going to do, now that I kind of understand my rhythm, is I'm going to start by figuring out the notes. Okay, so I look it over. It only involves 3 notes, C, D, and E. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my metronome on. I have it set to 80, but you can set it higher or lower depending on what you need. And I'm going to say the note names in the rhythm that I want it to be. No clarinet, just saying note names. Here we go. C, E, D, rest, rest. D, E, C, 2, 3, 4, rest, rest. E, 2, D, 2, 3, 4, rest, 2, 3, 4. C, 2, 3, 4. So I demonstrated 2 ways you can do it. You can just say the note name, or you can actually hold through. C, E, which both ways are fine, whatever works for you. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add in my fingers to this. I'm adding another level to this. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to say the note names, and then I'm going to do the fingers with it, just in case there's anything tricky with the fingerings. Here we go. And C2, E2, D2, rest 2, D2, E2, C2, 3, 4, rest 2, E2, D2, 3, 4, rest 2, 3, 4, C2, 3, 4, done. And then the last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to try to play through it. You can start by playing just 2 measures. You can start by playing just 4 measures. Whatever you feel is most comfortable to you. You do not have to play the whole thing right off the bat. I encourage you not to play the whole thing right off the bat. I set my metronome again. I make sure I have the correct posture, make sure my reed is wet, make sure I have a good embouchure set, and then what I'm going to do is I'm actually only going to play the first half of this because I feel pretty confident on the first half, maybe not so much on the second half. Okay, here we go. Tapping my foot. I have my fingers ready to switch from C to E so that I don't switch one finger at a time. I switch them both. 1, 2. Wow, I feel pretty good about that. So now I'm going to look at the second half. Okay, I'm going to make sure that I get those rests right because there's a lot of them. I want to make sure I hold through those whole notes so that I don't get off once I get to the rests. Here we go. Let's play the whole thing together. 1, 2. Uh-oh, I messed up. So now I look and I see where I messed up. Okay, so I messed up in measure 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's start in measure 4, and let's practice measure 4 and measure 5. This is how you practice. Starting on the whole note in measure 4. 2, ready? Wow, that was much better. All right, let's play through the whole thing again. Here we go. Hoping I fix that. If you don't fix it on the second try, keep trying the same way that I did. Here we go. 1, 2. And that's how you get it. As long as you're tapping your foot throughout that whole process and you're doing everything else, tonguing each note, playing the correct notes and rhythms with good air support and good posture, you should be fine.